Hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, let me just check that I'm being heard out there in the stratosphere. Good evening, everyone. I don't know who is with me tonight, but I will wait for a couple seconds, minutes, maybe 5 more minutes, and we'll get cracking. Thank you, Chikere. I see you there. I see you. Thank you, Chikere. Carolyn, 2 stars. 2 stars. Not 1 star, 2 stars. I see you. Thank you. Okay, so we're just gonna start this evening anyway. Other people will join us as we go along, and okay, um, and we'll just get started this way. Okay, right. Hi, Jed K. I see you in the chat. Thank you for responding to my call, and you're a moderator tonight. So just keep an eye out for any irregularities. Any irregularities, please keep an eye out for that. Okay. And remember, you can, if you're joining us in the chat just now, you can be a moderator. Not exactly selling these, but if you are I think it's a Trill Black soldier and upwards, as part of our membership scheme on the channel, you automatically get yourself a pair of a quiver. What's it that that archers carry around? A quiver, some bows, and an arrow. A bow and some arrows, and you can join the Medjay archers. I think if you're in this chat, you probably know what a Medjay is. Medjay were Nubian warriors who served in Egypt and across that northeast African area in the ancient times. So you can become a moderator, just have to be a member. And well, if you're a member and you're to the level of a soldier, then your bona fides are well and truly spoken for. So at request, on your request, after being a medja on a specific request, you will be made a moderator. So just yeah, let me know. Anyway, so that's all. Those are the requirements for being a moderator on this channel. Until you show me something that's not appropriate, you will not be removed as a mod. Okay. If you do show me that something that's inappropriate in your behavior and how you're using your privileges as a moderator, then it's not going to be good. Let's just say, let's just say you know it's not. You're about to lose your job, is all I'll say. Anyway, so let's get cracking. I want to show you some I'll just down the sweet. Sorry. Mm. Right, Asia Minor. I don't know. I'll have a look at your question in a bit. It's good to see you. It's good to see you join us tonight. Right, let's get crackalacking. Yesterday we were looking at a few of the pieces that we've been told, um, kind of made to believe don't exist. Made to believe that they don't exist, and that we should only look at certain images when we are talking about the ancient world or the history of Africa. And we kind of started looking at the fakes, but quickly graduated on to looking at other things, artifacts from African history. And in doing that, we found a lot of things that we're not supposed to see. We're not supposed to see, but see them we did. Right. We're going to start tonight by looking at something called Monument, uh, the Monument Museum, Los Angeles. And in their, in their, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? In their cache, in their stash, in their basement stash, they have masses and masses of collections of. We're not really bothered with ancient things from artifacts from other civilizations. We're bothered with Africa. If you join us tonight, you've joined us for a look at some of the things that aren't shown in your regular museums. Things that are shown in private collections, that are only available in private collections, that are swapped back and forth and sold back and forth between some very, very high powered people. In fact, some of what you're about to see as representations of the history of Africa, I think Africa's got the oldest history in the world. That can be vouched for. Okay. And some of what you're about to see, you won't believe your eyes when you see it. Monument LA is a museum obviously based in America. And whilst you may think that, if you go on their website, you may think that, okay, well, this isn't a private collection, this is a museum. Actually, what you will find, and I'm about to prove it to you, what you will find is that quite a lot with these private museums, who are their endowment is set up privately. So what I mean by that is that a lot of some of the collections you're about to see are in collections that were endowed privately. So it was a private collector's stash, so to speak, who then makes it public, and the museums, at least the things that are put on display for the public, they're actually how do you put it? It's actually funded privately. Yes, they take donations, but it's actually ultimately funded privately. And what they do have in reserve, they don't have to show you. Okay? And I'll show you tonight just how some of these artifacts, which belong in Africa to Africans, and they were taken a long time ago, some of which we don't even know about as Africans ourselves, because we're so devoid, we're so separated from our history. Some of these things, I lost my train of thought there. Will just they're in private hands. They're in private hands, and they're swapped back and forth. In fact, Monument LA has on their website, right? Let me share my screen with you guys. Let's start off. LA has a collection that they sell online. So they you can actually go and you can actually go to their website, and you will see on their website a section on the top right hand corner. I don't know if you can see my cursor. It's waving at the top right hand corner of my screen, and it's showing you something that says online shop. online shop. Right, let me get rid of something. So that's gonna really annoy people the whole night. I'll just get rid of my little face there. Okay, get rid of that. And let's get rid of that. Cool. Right. Okay, that's gone out of the way. That's good. I can get that back on the screen for you lot. I'm still learning the ropes with this. Okay, cool. I'm back on screen. Right, so on the top right hand corner, you will see online shop, and you will see with that, if you were to click on it, I've downloaded this page. It's a screenshot that you're looking at, and I've done that just so that we don't have to. My software isn't overloaded tonight. But if you look at this website on the top right hand corner, you'll see online shop, and so I can't click on that right now. But if you were to go on the website of Monument Los Angeles, you can click on that, and you will have things being sold of from artifacts from antiquity being sold willy nilly on that website. Some of them are African, most of them aren't. But I contend that's because the African stuff is quite high value and is sold on behind the scenes and on some of the other websites that you'll see tonight. And the prices we're talking about are really, they're just astronomical. They were talking about sometimes 6 figures, 5 figures certainly you'll see. And so anyway, let's just start with this piece. This piece here is an ancient Egyptian shabti. Now shabtis were tiny little models that were kind of stacked away with the bodies of bodies of pharaohs, important people, and they were supposed to represent the servants that would help this important individual in the next life, right? This one here says, depiction of a servant in a mummy position with arms crossed over his chest, holding stick and whip with T-shaped inscription. The blackening of the glaze is due to a fire in the tomb. I'll just take you down slightly. And now when you look at some of these images, there is no denying that you are looking at, I mean, we've started in ancient Egypt tonight, but there is no denying that you're looking at black African people here. The civilization of ancient Egypt is often, we know where it's at. We know that we're not supposed to believe that ancient Egypt was a black African civilization, but we know that it was. And so you're going to be seeing some ancient Egyptian artifacts that you cannot look at and you cannot look at without concluding that you're looking at a civilization of black people. Okay, so we are. This isn't on the IRJ. RJ Mackenzie's in the chat. Good to see you, brother. Is this on the British Museum website? No, it's not on the British Museum website. It's on something called Monument Los Angeles. Okay, they're in the States there. I think you're in the States as well. Privately owned in Switzerland since the early 1990s. Right, let's go on to the next piece on exhibit. Well, I don't want to show you this first, actually. I want to show you something else. So, I'll take you out of this. And I'll take you to... Where is it? I believe it's this. Come on, come on. Okay, right. Now, the image you're about to see, just to prove how incestuous this relationship can get, how back and forth these artifacts can go. Now, you are looking, we'll go down to the description. You're looking at a male figure, a wooden male figure. a note. You know what? We're supposed to believe that with a lot of these artifacts, with a lot of these statues, we're supposed to believe that the noses are knocked off because, well, the noses are knocked off because there was some superstition about the most readily available explanation for the knocking off of these statues and their noses and their lips is that, oh, they didn't want the person in the next life to be able to breathe. It was an act of spite. Now, I don't altogether believe that. I believe that while that might be true in some cases, in the vast majority of cases, it's not true. Because you will notice a pattern when you've spent any amount of time with these figurines and statues at all, or these artifacts. You will notice a trend. Noses that are obviously African in nature. We're talking flat, broad noses with wide nostrils are often missing. Thick lips are often missing. They're often, you can see quite deliberately, they've been chipped off or broken off. And so, but when you get to, you then have some objects that have a obviously Caucasian nose, pointed, aquiline, straight. The lips are not particularly protruding, and they a face that you would say, and nobody's saying that there wouldn't have been lighter skinned Caucasoid type peoples in ancient Egypt. It's a vast country, so it was a vast empire. You would have found even people in high authority positions who looked Caucasian and whose statues you can find. Now, but what you will find is that these statues never have their noses knocked off. They almost never have their, and that goes against logic. Sorry, I'll finish that thought. They almost never have their lips damaged. Okay. Now, for me, I will tell you in terms of pure logic, that doesn't make any sense. First of all, why is it the quite patently negroid features that are being knocked off? I mean, the people in the ancient world who are knocking these noses off, do they have a thing against quite obviously black representations, or is something else going on? And secondly, another argument that's put forward is sometimes they've not really got their wires, they've not really dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's with their theories on this. On the one hand, they say it was something that was done as superstition, and it was done because some people wanted to spite the dead. On the other hand, you will hear if you're on another day and with another person, with another quote unquote expert, you will hear them say, well, actually, a lot of these statues get damaged over the years as they fall, as they topple. But then that doesn't make any sense for the wooden statues, such as the one you're looking at right now. Again, this is Monument LA. You can go on the website, Monument Los Angeles Antiques Dealers or Museum. And this is in their collection. They sell some of their collection and they exhibit some of what they've got. So you're looking at a wood statue here. Now, the damage thing doesn't make any sense because the arms should be damaged quite badly. I mean, why is it always the nose? Regardless of whether you've got a wood statue or a stone statue, the noses or the facial features, as you can see here, are often vandalized. Now, lots of people, lots of experts will tell you that something else is going on. And it's not, unless you want to bury your head in the sand, it's not entirely preposterous. The idea being that you're not meant to see these African these African artifacts looking African. Certainly not the ones that are supposed to be Egyptian or ancient Egyptian, because I tell you what, Manu Ampim, who did the interview with the King's Monologue, he mentioned how as an expert going to Egypt, he's found so-called restorers, restoration workers, peeling off the black and dark brown paint off some of these wall reliefs and these friezes, these paintings, peeling off, chipping away at facial features. And when they've been asked what are they doing, they'll say we're restoring. It's a restoration work, and you can't quiz them any further. They're working under the direction of the Egyptian government, or the antiquities department in Egypt. So what's going on there? This has been documented. The vandalization of these artifacts. What you're looking at, you cannot deny, is a black individual. We've been told that the skin color here is red and not meant to represent black individuals. It's meant to represent a tanned olive complexion. This is the dominant color of what this is the dominant coloration used by the ancient Egyptians to color their items. This here, we'll just go down to the description down below. It says, let's see what it says here. What are we told this is? What are we told this? Let's keep going down. I'll just scroll down. You're looking at this and there's no way. But why this is important is because if you go to the Cairo Museum, if you were to go to Egypt and you go to Cairo Museum, what they've got on display there, if you thought you were going to Cairo to actually see the true pharaohs, the faces of the ancient Egyptians, you've got a lot of fraudulent pieces there that were born out of the age of fakes in the late 1800s, when the Europeans were digging and finding black statue after black statue after black statue. And in an attempt to, you have the quote from one of their famous academicians, John Stuart Mill, who says, the quote, it goes something like, from the statues of the ancient Egyptians, it has been adduced, it's been comfortably proven that the ancient Egyptians were a Negro race. That's what they were writing about in the 1800s. So they're constantly digging and they're constantly finding that we're dealing with an African civilization here. East African, but Black African nonetheless. And it's embarrassing. So in the age of fakes, you have things like the Rahotep and Nofret statue that were fabricated to kind of give the impression that these were just tanned Caucasoid peoples, okay? Like you have in Egypt today, the Arab peoples who dominate the place now. But a long time ago, that wasn't the case. You had Egypt and all of North Africa dominated by black-skinned peoples. The Romans wrote about them. The Greeks wrote about them. All and sundry wrote about these people. Now, what you're seeing there, okay, I'll just read to us. I'll just read to us what the description on this piece. And it says, the custom of placing small wooden statues in tombs for the deceased began in the Old Kingdom, as was often the case even on wooden statues as small as this one. The arms, the front of the left foot, the body, and the base were all made separately. These features give our charming figure a deceptively doll-like appearance and a certain verisimilitude as he stands inserted into a rectangular black plinth. That's the plinth down there below. He is depicted striding with the left leg advanced, wearing a long white Shendite kilt. I don't know how you pronounce that. Featuring a stiff triangular apron that is secured by a projecting knot below his navel. So if you're African and you're looking at this and you're reading that description, particularly the bit where it talks about the knot that secures his kilt, that you can see that right there. That's the knot there. That is not what you think it is. Thank you very much. We'll keep this PG. Yes, we will. Yeah, we'll keep it PG. But I mean, what you're seeing there is a knot, and I've got an image of of this ready for you guys. All right, so I've got an illustration ready for you. Let's just check this out. Let me take this down. Take that down. Okay, let's get rid of that because that's not what I want to show you. Okay. Right. Where is it at? There we go. What you're seeing is that it's just a knot right there. See that? It's just a common, as an African, you would know what that was immediately. You would know that when you're tying a piece of cloth around your waist, as we tend to do in Africa, particularly across West Africa, you tie what we call a wrapper. You tie it with a knot. And nothing screams African as much as that with this figure. You can already obviously see his hair. Again, they'll tell you this is a wig. They've never found, I don't think they've ever found any of these wigs. I think Manu Ampim states that in his interview with the King's Monologue. They've never found these wigs, yet they maintain that all of these that you see on their heads aren't short African locks that you can see all across Africa today. Black people wearing and styling and donning about the place. No, they'll tell you these are wigs. And these are experts, actual experts that come out and say things like this.
You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
Yes, that's what they'll tell you. They'll say, these fake intellectuals, these fake frauds will tell you and say, these are wigs. We know they're not wigs. We know for certain that they're not wigs. We know it's just hair. Okay, I think it says that hair. Okay, here it goes. Here we've got the wig thing. He wears a short wig of echeloned curls, which leave his ears exposed. Overall, this simple. They're not wigs. This is not a man wearing a wig. This is his hair. So you're telling me nobody in ancient Egypt, nobody in ancient Egypt had their normal hair walking around. And if they were wearing wigs, if this was a wig that we see on this man's head, why in goodness's name is this man, this Egyptian Middle Eastern type, so to speak, why is he wearing a wig in the style of Africans who live further south, Nubia? Why? I mean, if the dominant culture is the dominant culture, why are you mimicking another group of people? How does that make any sense? It's this argument about wigs is so infuriating.
If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble.
You can't really. I don't. It really gets on my nerves. But there is not one. Actually, I'll come to that later on in the evening, because there's not actually one exhibit that's described properly. They never reference the fact that this is hair. They always say it's a wig. So we're gonna see more and more of that tonight. Yeah, RJ McKenzie says, I guess they love the African culture. Yeah, they just really yeah. Okay. Right. We'll move on because there's a lot to show you guys tonight. Okay, so I just want to quickly point this out. I made a claim earlier that this, although this is a museum, and this is a publicly available collection, that the relationship is quite incestuous, and they're always selling back and forth these pieces. I want to prove that to you because this piece that you just saw, actually not long ago belonged to an auction house called Christie's, and it was in their collection not long ago, and you're looking at it right here. You've got Christie's. There it is. There he is. There's our man, and you will see there it was wow. Wow. Look how much this went for, guys. Look at how much this went for. My goodness.
Here comes the money.
This was on the market. Now, if I had a few, I'd spend my whole life buying these up if I actually had the money. Just so that these people, and buying these up so I could return it back to, not to Egypt, because Egypt isn't owned by the people that originally, is not governed by the people that originally owned it today. I'd send it, I think I'd send it to Nigeria. I'd send it to South Africa. I'd send it to Nubia, Sudan. Problem is, a lot of these places aren't stable now. We know why they're not stable. We know why they're not stable. We know what's going on there as well. It pays the West for these African nations to be the way they are right now. So, look at this. £43,000. Can you see that? £43,000, 750 quid. And the estimate was £30,000. This is a wooden door. This is an actual wooden door. You know, I know I said that was a knot and not what you think it is. So I'm just look, that they say it's a knot. It's not just me that says it's a knot. So
You gay?
no, listen, that is a knot. That is a knot.
You are gay.
It's not what you think it is, guys, right? I'm just being childish now. Right, let's just move on. Let me just move out of this. Okay, right. Let's get out and go back to Monument LA. Again, I had to download these because I'm not confident in my streaming software. It tends to slow up the minute I am just crossing tabs. Right. Let's go back to ancient Egypt. So that piece obviously left Christie's and traveled from the UK, because I think Christie's is a UK-based auctioneer, and traveled across the pond to America, where it now resides, specifically in the monument in Los Angeles, there with that museum called Monument. So here's another piece from Monument. Zooming in there. That's not what I want to do. Okay. I'm actually serious. I hope, because sometimes YouTube demonetizes the AI thinks it spotted something untoward, and then you get a strike and you can't monetize the video, and that's the end of it. So, and until you make an appeal. So I actually think I hope the AI doesn't look back at that image and think it spotted a thingamajig. Right. Let's go down to this. So this is another Egyptian limestone sculptor's model. Again, notice the nose. Notice the nose. It's gone. And again, you can see the space that nose would have occupied. You can see how broad it is. You can see how widely it would have, and how prominent it would have been. You can also see the lips. So it's not really the lips that they've gone for here. Whoever's chipped this off hasn't been going for the lips. They've been going for the nose, and the lips has just been collateral damage. But again, you can see what's been done there. We're supposed to believe that this is accidental. Where's the damage with the rest of the statue? Where's the damage to the shoulders? Where's the damage to the cobra on the head, on the headpiece? Where is it? In the description here, we have the idealized royal portrait features a sfumato brow line above almond-shaped eyes, elongated at their inner and outer canthi, and fleshy lips below. At least in that description, they've put the word fleshy lips. They've put the phrase fleshy lips, because what they often do is they act as if they don't. I'll show you this, bro, from the side. They act as if you actually can't, you're not seeing what you're seeing. You're not seeing the African features that you're seeing. They tend to not want to make reference to the Africoid features in these things. So as you look, you see this guy, you can see from the side, obviously an African man, obviously a black man. And when this had paint on it, before the paint was was either chipped off deliberately or before the paint wore off, you are having brown paint on this, most likely deep, dark brown paint. Hi, Miss Oldfield, Patrina Oldfield, in the chat there saying, which pharaoh is this? We are told this is circa 30th dynasty to early Ptolemaic period. So I'm waging, I would bet that this is Psammetichus, perhaps one of the later pharaohs just before the Greeks came in, before the Greeks took over, before Alexander the Great came into Egypt and conquered it. And then you had the Ptolemies. So I don't know. We're not told exactly, but we're told that it's a pharaoh. Now, this cannot be, I don't think this is a Greek pharaoh. This is not a pharaoh from the Ptolemaic period. This is one of the last black pharaohs of Egypt, indigenous pharaohs of Egypt. So let's keep it moving. We've got a lot to show tonight. So again, we got this guy right here with that deep, dark brown color. Late period, this is 664 BC. They're not sure, so there's about a space of 300 years approximation there. 664 BC to 332 BC. The mask with broad accentuated eyebrows inlaid with bronze and limestone eyes. I don't know if that's limestone eyes. That's African eyes. Them are African eyes I'm looking at. You know those yellow eyes you see us Africans sporting sometimes. That's what you're looking at. But no, I'm only joking. I jest there. But yeah, it's quite darkly colored, the eyes. The face is contoured by full cheeks and fleshy lips. Again, only in Egypt, only in the study of Egypt as an ancient civilization do you get people who have depicted themselves with full lips, curly, crispy, kinky hair, broad noses usually, and still we have to debate. Whilst being on the continent of Africa, we still have to debate and contend with people that these are black people. That's only on the continent of Africa. Anywhere else, they'll at least give us, this was they'll at least say, okay, it might have been a black person, but he was a slave. That's what you get. It was a slave, because they can't fathom that. Well, I think they can fathom it, but it suits certain people's egos to pretend otherwise, that the black race or the black community wasn't always put upon as it has been in recent times. So let's move on again. We got this person right here. And this, you cannot deny what you're looking at. You look at this, you cannot deny what you're looking at. Yes, the face does look like an Ethiopian type, RJ Mackenzie. You can't deny what you're looking at when you look at this face. This is the late period, 25th dynasty to the 26th dynasty. So at this point in time, we're talking about people who everybody agrees that these are at least black people, because we all know they at least give us the 25th dynasty. The 25th dynasty is supposed to be the dynasty in which the Nubians ascended and invaded Egypt and restored proper order to Egypt, restored an Egyptian, a sort of a new age, a revival of an Egyptian state. Before this, the Egyptian sort of civilization was on a downward trend. The Nubians burst forth in this period, and they took over Egypt and kind of re-established things. Okay, now it's not doubted that we're now in the period of the Black Pharaohs. Everybody will agree to that. So when you're looking at this and it tells you this is the 25th dynasty, you know you're looking at a black person. Even some of the deniers will tell you this is a black person. But it looks no different to many of the features, many of the other people, many of the other objects, many of the other items and statues that you see time and time again. Okay, you're not going to see this in the museum in Cairo because they hide these. The Egyptian authorities, the Arabs right now, who I believe are actually far more racist. We have a lot to say about the West, but the Arab world, I believe, is far more racist and antagonistic towards blacks than anywhere else, than any other group right now. So in Egypt, they hide these away. They don't even want anything to do with these. They will loan and sell these out to to other countries. But when it comes to the museum in Cairo, they'll put up the fakes. So the person who thinks they're going to Egypt to see the real faces of the pharaohs is deceived and thinks, oh, okay, so this is what they actually look like. And okay, there's nothing to see here, move along. But in actual fact, this is what an Egyptian looked like. And there's no denying that face. Even the description says, the eyes and the ears are finely carved with prominent lips again and again and again and again and again, with prominent lips while the arms are crossed. I mean, if these are not black African people that we're looking at, you had the Kardashians were you had some Kardashian craze a long time ago before the Kardashians ever came on the scene. That's for sure. If these are not black people you're looking at, then this whole black fishing thing has been going on since forever then. Because I do not know why you would paint yourself, why you would carve yourself, sculpt yourself like this if you were not black African. On this piece, you can see the paint coming off. You can see the paint coming off it. That's brown. That's deep brown. You can see the hair structure there, the hair type. That's African hair. It's not blonde. It's not red. It's not whatever. It's not hazel. It's just black, locked, tiered locks that an African person would wear, that we still wear even today. You know? So there we go. We'll move on. I think that's an official. I think in the description, just so I'll give us a bit of detail. The information reads, this delicately carved limestone head once belonged to a statue of an official and represents a classic example of Old Kingdom sculpture in the round. A classic example of Old Kingdom in the round. Now, I can't remember. This is a classic example. Okay, so bear that in mind when you see the fakes. When you see things like whatchamacallit, Rahotep and Nofret, looking nothing like this. Okay, this is in the private collection Switzerland, acquired during the 1950s and then by descent. So you got this in private hands before it came to Monument LA. Okay, all right, let's move on swiftly on. All right, we've come to the end of this. There's another individual. You cannot, again, bear that quote in mind. I'm gonna find it again for us. Let's see if I can find it here. Right. There we go. Let's look at what was it now? Okay, let's go. Whatever. Let's ignore that. Let's ignore that for now. It's just going to take too long. I was going to find you the John Stuart Mill quote. And the John Stuart Mill quote is not... it's actually amazing. See if I can... See if I can pluck it out of somewhere. Can't. Right. We'll move on. Okay. Right. I've got this in here because I want to show you something specifically about this image. Now, you might look at this and say, oh, there's a Caucasian type in Egypt, except when you look closer, you see what many have noticed in times past with these statues. So let me show you something. Let me just zoom close to this image, right? Close to this image, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Can you see the paint at the top there? It's almost as if somebody, and if you look at the face properly, you can see this hasn't just lost its color incidentally over time. You can actually see the different whatever's been used to kind of grind away at the paint. You can see the markings, the etchings there. You can see it, and you can see at the very top here what looks to be like brown paint that's just stopped abruptly at the top there. That's because somebody's been going away doing this restoration work I spoke about at the very beginning. In my opinion, I think that's what's going on there. Because when this has the natural color on it, its original color, again, all you've got there is the Ethiopian type. Okay. Let's keep it moving. Got a lot to show you tonight. Here's another type. Again, this is brown. This is a brown individual in Africa. We're not talking tanned. You can tell the lips give it away. This is all in private hands. The lips give it away. Plump, full lips, brown face, almond eyes, and a slightly nilotic nose. And you don't even have to go to East Africa to get these noses. I'm a West African man, and I have friends with not particularly wide noses. I think it's recognized. Again, we talk about this a lot in the community on YouTube here. We talk about this a lot. Africa is the most genetically diverse place on the planet. As a continent, it's got the most genetic variation. So, and that's amongst Black Africans. I'm not talking about the newcomer Northerners. Now, I'm talking about actual indigenous Black Africans. It's the most genetically diverse. You will get this look amongst Black Africans. Newcomer is not meant to be denigrating. I'm just stating facts. Etc. etc. Right, let's move on. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Okay, that was just to show you the knot that the man was wearing. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Now, once again, you go close to this image and you will see that this originally is an African face that's been, this is the third intermediate period, 21st to 25th dynasty. So thereabouts with the rise of the resurgence of the Nubians. The mask, it says, comprised of wood, with remains of gesso, painted and gilded linen-backed surface, the inlaid eyes of a later date, but historically correct, and 3 attachment holes which would have held wooden pegs fixing it to the body of the sarcophagus. So this is an Egyptian wood mummy mask. I went to an exhibition in Manchester last year, summer, and at the very bottom, the most accessible part of the exhibition, you have Ptolemaic era, Greek era copycat sarcophagi. So coffins, effectively, that's just a fancy name for a coffin. Coffins of Greeks who were mimicking the Egyptian practice of mummification. So what you're looking at when you go straight in is a completely different era. It would be like what's the best example to use? It would be like, let's say, black folk in the UK doing something that's pretty like it. Right, no. Let's change it. Let's change this time and space. It'd be like white people adopting the practice of wearing headdresses, Red Indian headdresses, Native American headdresses, okay? And being buried in them because they found it like, they just like the idea. They just like the idea. And 1,000 years from now, people find these bodies of white folks and say, see, look at the Red Indian people. An exhibition. Let's all go to this exhibition and marvel at the Red Indians or the Native Americans and their civilization. And at the bottom, at the most accessible point of this exhibition is, voila, look at the Red Indians. Look at what they were like. It's a complete fraud. You're looking at a group of people who adopted years and years, hundreds, centuries after the Red Indians had been killed off, adopted something that wasn't theirs, but they just did. I don't know why. There was a craze of it. And now 1,000 years in the future, people are saying these were the Red Indians. That's essentially what that... So to actually see proper Egyptian faces and proper authentic Egyptian artifacts, you had to go to the top. You had to climb a flight of stairs, several flights of stairs, up to the top of the building where you saw where you saw actual proper Egyptians. Now, you cannot tell me that that's by accident. I'm naturally a cynical person, but come on, even the most naive person whose eyes are open to the fact that, so let's say you meet me on the level and you're a very naive person, but you agree with me that the ancient Egyptians were black. Okay? You cannot look at that setup and not be suspicious. We actually had to climb several flights of stairs to go to see actual Old Kingdom, Middle Kingdom Egyptians. Proper, authentic Egyptian artifacts. And when we got there, I just didn't take good pictures. Otherwise, I would have done a live out of that, and my camera just completely gave out on me on the day. It was a complete mess. So I was really annoyed about that. I took lots of blurry pictures. I don't know. I think that's what happens when you take kids with you. So, but it was just amazing. It was like you went upstairs in this little room and you saw actual Egyptians, and you saw figures with afros, with braids, with high tops, actual high tops. We saw a figurine with a high top. We saw an actual statue of an Egyptian man, black. It was dark red to black, kind of like what you're seeing right now. And it was clear that this was a black man with a high top fade. But you had to go out of your way to see that. Whilst most people were down below watching like the Greeks play Egyptian. That's deliberate. That is not by accident at all. At all. Okay. Right. Let's move on. Okay. Right. Let's go. Right. So we finished that monument. Let's go to Christie's. Christie's is a UK-based auction house, and what they've got is very interesting. We've already seen one of their Egyptian things. I don't really want to make this all about ancient Egypt. I want to also show you some of the more recent artifacts that have been traded. So whilst on the one hand, Africa is supposed to not have had any enduring history, any enduring civilization, any history of craftsmanship, of technical finesse, these people are hoarding up all the evidence of that civilization that they claim we didn't have. Okay, when I say these people, I'm not coming for my lovely Caucasian brothers and sisters. I'm talking about the people who I'm talking about know who I'm talking about. You know yourself when excuse me, when you hear phrases like that. So if you wanna come up in the chat and say something stupid, you will be blocked instantly. Actually blocked straight off. So when I'm talking and when I'm saying things like these people, don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. Don't get all fake outrage and start pointing the finger about oh, look who's racist now, or you will be blocked.
And we say bye-bye.
That's what we'll say to you in that Trump voice as well. We will say,
And we say bye-bye.
thank you. That's what I'll say to you. Okay? Right. Let's move on. Let me come out of this and let's start in the order I wanted to start in. Okay. Come on. Right, so here we got something called a kudwo. A kudwo is a container. Now, this is beautiful. I'm looking at this and this is beautiful. It's a container, and we're good. I'm not gonna say any riff here. I'm not gonna say anything off the top of my head. I want you to hear what the experts tell us a kudwo is. So let me go to the Met Museum's page on this type of an artifact. Okay, this one specifically. So this isn't in a private collection. This is with the Met Museum in New York. Guys, please, if you can drop, hit the like button in the chat if you're here and you are listening. Help us, help this video go a bit further, far and wide. Helps the algorithm along. So please hit the like button if you can. Thank you. Right. The Met Museum say this. And let's go even closer. Ornate cast brass vessels known as kudwo were the possessions of kings and courtiers in the Akan kingdoms. Gold, dust, and nuggets were kept in kudwo, as were other items of personal value and significance. As receptacles for their owner's kra or life force, they were prominent features of ceremonies designed to honor and protect that individual. At the time of his death, a person's kudwo was filled with gold and other offerings and included in an assembly of items left at the burial site. Almost exactly like you have the Egyptians doing. This is that cultural continuity that you see across Africa. Almost exactly as you see with the Egyptians, burying themselves with precious items, things that they had, that they possessed in their life. You have the Ghanaians, you have the Ashanti, the Akan, the Twi people doing the same thing. So, and they're doing it using these containers, these ornate, intricate containers. Elaborately decorated, elaborately crafted, sculpted. I'll read on. The elaborate form and complex iconography of this kudwo reveal the broad range of aesthetic traditions from which the Akan peoples have drawn to create their courtly arts. Goods from Europe and North Africa received in exchange for Akan gold, textiles, and slaves included vessels that may have partly inspired the design of this and other kudwo. They don't know what they're talking about there. They're saying that once again they can't help themselves. It has to have been given to us by somewhere else or some other people. So we as Africans, we don't have our own concept of I'm gonna make up a word now, paternology. It has to have been that we got this intricate design that you see on this vessel here has to have been because we were inspired by Arabs or North Africans or something like that, who were black, by the way. North Africans were black once upon a time, unanimously. Okay, fine. Not unanimously, but you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, the elaborate form, we've read that. The repeating bands of geometric patterns incised into the surface, as well as the elegantly flaring foot, body, and handle, may reflect Islamic influences. No, it doesn't. I'm glad you put May. I am so happy for your own sake that you put May, because you might have to get a slap up in this place.
You know what? I'm tired of your presence. Dismissed.
So, a latch mechanism on the exterior reflects the value of the materials kept within and alludes to the vessel's symbolic function of keeping its owner's craft secure. Good. Blah, blah, blah. Now, let me show you what's in. No, I don't want that. Okay, right. Let me show you what's in the private possession. Let me show you the versions of this that's in the private possession of different people. So you've got this, which is a container. And I believe this is called a Kudwo box. It's another Kudwo box, another container. And I think I put this in the thumbnail. This is, we don't really have proper descriptions with this on this website. Christie's don't really give proper descriptions. I think because you're supposed to kind of ring them up or talk to this guy here. Brought to you by Remy Magustero, Associate Specialist, Head of Sale. So a Christie specialist may contact you to discuss this lot or to notify you if the condition changes prior to the sale. A lot of these don't even give you the price. So this is rare that we'll have the price on here. 27,000 euros. Guys, some antiques from the 1800s, some European antiques are not going for 27,000 pounds. The price that this, so I think this is, yeah, right, this is closed. This was sold 30th of April 2024, and it went for 27 grand. Some European antiques are not going for 27 grand. They are not. But this is being sold by people who have no affiliation with the culture. Beautiful. Look at this. Look at the intricacy of the mold on this. However it's been done. Look at the intricacy of the design. Okay, and it's gone for 27 grand. 27 grand. You know, that's the price of a brand new. Some Audis are going for 27 grand. You know, so I don't know what would have gone in here. But again, like we heard, gold, sometimes other things. But it looks like whatever you put in here is supposed to be quite valuable. Okay? This is all a people who are not supposed to, and this is Ashanti. This is all, excuse me, from a people who are not supposed to have any high culture, any civilization of their own. They're just supposed to be in grass skirts waiting for whites to come and cut them off as slaves. Okay? But this is being sold now in private. Not in a museum, in private. And it's sitting in some old guy's house on a mantelpiece, on a mantelpiece somewhere. Just for his pleasure, his or her pleasure. Okay? Myself and my missus, who... myself and my missus often talk about this, and she has a theory that it's actually only the instability of Africa that prevents us knowing the depth of history that we black people possess. Because if you were to properly dig in Africa, oh my goodness, if you were to properly excuse me, if you were to properly dig in Africa, I can't begin to imagine. And she says this all the time. You can't begin to imagine all the treasures that you'd find. Okay, this for me, I'd say this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. You know, right. Oh my goodness, right. Need to drink something. Yeah, sorry guys. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, this is just a room. They just put this in tandem with the last piece that you saw. Okay, they put this there, and this is it's just a room full of bronze, mahogany items, different metals, different artifacts from Africa that are just put in a room as part of one lot, I'm guessing, and up for auction. And this stuff was all taken. The overwhelming majority of what you're looking at was all taken during the period of the scramble for Africa, when they were conquering, when the European powers were conquering Africa step by step, piece by piece, one people at a time, one nation at a time. Okay, we're supposed to live in an era of, what, whatever, guys. I'm.
If I speak, I am in big trouble. In big trouble.
So let's move on. That's right, you'll see. Another one at Christie's. You're getting. This is something called. This is a Congo. This is something from Congo, and whilst it looks quite simplistic and abstract, if you were to go close here, this has been painstakingly designed. I don't know what this represents. This might be a spirit or a I don't know, or a demon or whatever, or a god, even a deity. But that's quite scary to look at. Look at the eyes there. Look at the intricacy of those lines, those interlocking lines there. Okay? Right. If it wasn't, if it was nothing, if this is not a beautiful to behold, if this is not lovely to look at, okay, then it wouldn't be on the market in at Christie's for 47, price realized £44,100. Again, closed 30th of April 2024 as part of the same auction lot, I'm guessing. Look at that. This is from the Congo, Mask Kifwebe Songye, from the Congo people. The Congo people are supposed to be, if you let them tell it, the Congo people were surprised when they saw these when they saw whites for the first time, and they were treated them like gods, and were examining their clothing. And do you know what? I don't buy that anymore. I used to, but I don't buy that anymore. Maybe there would have been the usual curiosity, as you would have gotten from the Portuguese themselves looking at the Congolese people, but I don't think people creating this are in awe because you're dressed different to them, okay? Or they think you're a god or whatever. This is beautifully done. And do you know what? RJ McKenzie says something in the chat. He says Pablo Picasso was inspired by these masks. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. That's documented history. Pablo Picasso and many European artists during the era, I can't remember what. I think Pablo Picasso, ¿Qué pasa? Pablo Picasso. All right, thank you, Cardi. Pablo Picasso was a cubist. Yes, that was his art form, was cubism, and he was massively inspired by African art. In fact, all his ideas came from African art, and for whatever reason, it took off in Europe. Now, can you imagine European art without the whole cubism thing, without Pablo Picasso? You can't. It's brandished in front of us all the time as part of the developmental genius of European artists. But that man straight up copied African art. African art, particularly Central and West African art, had very abstract elements to it. And that's what Pablo Picasso took on. And he kind of just amplified that in his work. Okay, this from a people without history, without culture. Right, this one I couldn't wait to show because I actually love this piece. This again has been sold. This is an Ivorian piece. And you can see their top left hand there. It says statue Baul. I'm not even going to try and read French there. Attribué au maître d'archer. Okay, I tried it anyway. Okay, right. 37,000 euros, 800 pounds. This has gone for. Look at the deftness of this work. Look at that. This is the African thinker. You've seen the thinker, the famous work by. You've seen the famous work by what's his name? Can't remember the artist now. We've all seen the thinker. This to me looks like the African thinker. Now I think he's holding something. I think he's about to ingest something, but it almost looks as if he's thinking. He's certainly holding that cup, whatever he's about to drink. He's certainly holding it in a sort of a thinking gesture. In a pensive gesture. But I love this. Now, let me tell you something. In 1,000 years, if the world carries on the way it's carrying on with European hegemony, and it carries on the way it's carrying on, and with the same people running the show as are currently running the show, telling us that they love us whilst they stab us in the back, instigate the wars in Africa, pit us against each other, deny us our history, tell us the Egyptians weren't black and we had nothing to do with them. If those same people are running the show, they will tell you in 1,000 years that this is a Caucasian man. The paint is darkened. That's one of the things you hear with ancient Egyptian artifacts. The paint is darkened. It was actually much lighter. And at the very worst, there was a tanned European man in an illustrious meditative pose. And the Ivorians were actually civilized by a master Caucasian race. That's what you get. You actually get that. Thank you very much, RJ, in the chat there. Augustin Rodin or whatever. Thank you. I certainly remember the name Rodin. But that's who that's who sculpted the thinker. But this, I don't know. There's something more alluring about this piece than Rodin's piece. This just looks, again, it's more abstract. Rodin, and this is again, excuse me. This is again what the people who deny the blackness of ancient Egypt, this is what they miss out on. Ancient Egyptian art is very abstract. It's very, it's got a very rigid set of rules. The Greeks, when they came with their art, decided to go uber realistic. They went for uber realism. Now, is that because Africans in ancient Egypt, black Africans, couldn't do uber realism? No. But that was just our thing. You see the typical Egyptian statue, the typical Egyptian art is very stylized, very idealized, broad shoulders, tapering in at the waist, standing in a sort of a manly, going forth pose. And sometimes if it's sat, you got hands on the lap, like this man has with one of his hands. And it's very samey. But that's because they had a set of conventions they were following. And I think Dr. Manu Ampim, again, I suggest the King's Monologue. If you're listening to me for the first time, I suggest watching the King's Monologue's interview with Dr. Manu Ampim. Dr. Manu Ampim explains that they believed, the ancient Egyptians seem to have believed that their art form was given to them by the gods and had to be followed conventionally, that you had to follow convention. It's the same thing you get with African art across Africa. It's very stylized. It's not meant to be uber realistic. Not because we're not capable of it, because if you look at this, you can obviously tell we're capable of doing uber realism. But there's something about abstractism and do you know what's funny about this? Is that again, I know people. My wife is being one of them. She hates uber realism in artwork. She doesn't really like somebody. She doesn't like these sketches that you'll see sometimes on YouTube and that are very painstakingly detailed, and she thinks it's boring. She wants to see your take on what you're seeing in your mind's eye. And I disagree. I actually disagree with her. I think I love uber realism. I love the fact that somebody can painstakingly sit down and etch things slowly and almost like a photograph give you a picture of yourself. I love that myself. Now, she's a white lady. She's blacker than me. She's blacker than me. And I just want to, let me go off topic here quickly and say, I know there's this thing about, there's this thing that in the community we talk about how we kind of have to keep our culture going, and we have to keep it in a race and all of that. But do you know what? My awakening to my history started because of my Caucasian wife. Irony of ironies. I remember getting married. I remember getting to know my wife, and she was fascinated more than me about my history. I already was interested in my history. But not to the level that I became until I met my wife. She was so fascinated with just African history that it made me feel jealous. It made me feel like, come, you better move. This is my history we're talking about. You don't come tell me about my history, So that was part of my awakening. My awakening already started a long time before, but it massively got accelerated in my relationship when I met this wonderful lady. So that's just a side story. I just wanted to put that out there. So yeah, I don't even know why I went into that, but that there you go. So that's why I went into that. In many ways, she's blacker than me even. So true black might not even exist without her. Okay, that I'll put that to one side for now. Okay, because I'm gonna get someone in the chat saying. I'm going to get someone in the chat saying, should have married a black queen, what you doing? If you say that, I warn you now.
And we say bye-bye.
No, I'm joking. I won't block you. I might give you a just 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strikes before doing that. Because I understand the sentiment. I understand why people feel like that. I understand the anxiety about keeping our culture and nothing racist about it. I understand the concept of wanting to keep, propagate the culture and whatnot. But like I've said, I couldn't have married a black or white woman. That's all I'll say. Okay, right. So you're talking about this piece that you see before you, and it is, for me, it's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's gone for £37.800, and I don't think we'll ever see this in a museum somewhere. I don't know. We might not. But again, guys, imagine how much is actually out there. Imagine how many things are actually that we don't know about, that are being enjoyed by private eyes, and we're just left to guess about. Imagine the majesty of African history that's been sold. And I don't even want to think about it because it makes me
I'm gonna control myself right now.
I'm just gonna have to do that. Thank you, Alex. Okay, right, let's right, let's go. Right. So here we go. We got £27,000, 720. Where's this from? Mali. The great Mali people. My goodness. This, I think, is... All right, let me go down to the description. Details. Christie's is very bad. Christie's is very bad for actually giving... giving proper descriptions of their pieces. Again, I suppose it doesn't matter to them. They've just got, for this one, they've got Bamana Ki Wara Headdress Mali. That's all they've got. And I think that's because you're supposed to... You're supposed to call up. This is on some in the majority, with the majority of these artifacts, you're just supposed to call up and start a nice little conversation and just kind of bid, and on the basis of that, we start to talk about the price. But so it's quite rare that you're actually seeing the price range here. This was an estimate. This was given an estimate of 4,000 euros to 6,000 euros. It sold for 27,000, and I can see why. Look at it. It's supposed to be a headdress, obviously of an antelope or of some kind. That's it's just beautiful. I can't stop looking at it. Again, this should be this should be in an African museum somewhere. This should be in Mali. This should be in Mali. And again, this is why I don't know if you guys this is why they keep Africa down. Because and I say they keep Africa down, some of us don't want to believe this. Some of us want to believe the lie that we just can't do things ourselves. We're just so far behind. We're so corrupt. We're so this. If we're so corrupt, how comes every time an honest leader rises up in Africa? I'm thinking of Sankara. I'm thinking of, it wasn't perfect, but Kwame Nkrumah. I'm thinking of people like I'm having a brain freeze, but they're there. They rise, and very soon after, we hear that Patrice Lumumba was assassinated. They just go stum on it now. They don't actually talk about it. But it's pretty well universally accepted that Patrice Lumumba was taken out by the CIA. And the Belgians. They didn't like what he was doing there. So every time, we have good people in Africa, we have great leaders in Africa, but they're not supposed to be there. And very soon, quite conveniently, the minute one rises up in any place in Africa, quite conveniently, there's been a coup or they've been assassinated or whatever. Come to find out years later when things get declassified, oh, the CIA might have been involved. You know, you have to be seriously naive to believe that, as a black person anyway, you have to be seriously naive. Seriously, the propaganda must be properly hot on your head, on your mind, in your mind, to believe that we're just more innately corrupt. That's not true. And I think it serves the agenda better to have a destabilized Africa, because if we're destabilized, we can't. The last thing on our minds is to claim back stuff like this. The last thing, we're just out there in Africa, across the black diaspora, a lot of us are just struggling. We're just struggling day to day. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, because if we weren't doing that, if we had the time on our hands, we'd come for this stuff. We would come for this stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? So, it's just sad that this is there. It's just actually sad and pathetic that this is there. Okay, right, let's go. Let's go. Okay. Oh, hello. Science and Inspiration has joined us. You know, there's no need for tears. There's no need for tears, darling. We are about an hour into this, just even an hour into this. So there's still more to come. And you can just check it out when the stream's over and just rewind. But it's good to have you with us. Thank you, RJ McKenzie, Jomo Kenyatta as well. I think he was Kenyan, right? the great Jomo Kenyatta. £27,000 euros. It's not far off. The exchange rate isn't far off. 27,000 euros, £720. Look at this. Look at this dagger. Look at this. As good as anything you will find anywhere else in the world. Look at this. Going for 27,000. Who's buying this? Who is buying this? I want to know who's buying this up. Them are some dark hands you got up there, Science and Inspiration. Them are some dark hands. I know we're going for the whole representation thing, but my brother, right? Okay. This says Mangbetu knife, Democratic Republic of the Congo. Democratic Republic of the Congo. Right. So that's a Congolese item there, and it's gone for £27,000, £720. This is not, you're not going to see this in a museum. I'm betting you're not going to see this in a museum. That's just gone to adorn some rich white dude's fireplace somewhere. Yeah. It's ridiculous. And again, this is important because we're supposed to have no history. Okay? We're supposed to have no history. We're supposed to have nothing to write home about. Okay. This was the statue I was talking about earlier, which was sold. We now know who it was sold to. Monument LA, Monument Los Angeles, 43,750. Ancient Egyptian statue of an official. Remember yesterday we were talking about the scribe, the seated scribe. Most Egyptian pieces look like this gentleman. Most scribes look like this gentleman here. Okay? They look like this gentleman right here. Unless you want to play games, this is a black man. This is a black man you're looking at. Okay? Old Kingdom 6th Dynasty, 2300 to 2180 to 2181 BC. Okay, right. Let's move on. Here's another Egyptian piece. Now I want you to notice something. The hair. So we already spoken about this, but I just want you to pay attention to that hair. And this is a big deal for me. It's a big deal for me, guys, because it took me a while to recognize what I was seeing when I'm looking at ancient Egyptian statues and these figures, shabtis, wall paintings, and I'm seeing this hairstyle. It took me a while to actually come out, to break out of that. You're looking at a wig. To break out that mindset of you're looking at a wig. Don't you dare think you're looking at anything else but a wig. And when they say wig, this isn't what they show you when they try to reenact. This isn't a wig. Look at this. This is real hair. This is real hair. This isn't what they show you when they try to reenact these pieces. When Hollywood tries to show you,
So click Google instead of making.
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
okay, one sec. Let me say something. Okay, all right. All right, let's go to let's open another tab. I want to show you guys something. All right, so they've never found them. And I think I've actually got it already. They've never found these so-called wigs. Right. When they claim that these are wigs, or when they claim that this hair is just right, I'm just gonna share the screen. I'm gonna stop talking. This is what we've grown up believing that we're looking at when we look at these wall paintings and we look at these people being represented. This lady right here is what we're told. And this is so offensive to me because the experts know. They must know. Whenever they're consulted about making a movie and they come out with something like Gods and Monsters or whatever, and they show us people looking like this, why don't the experts ever come out? Why don't we ever get the Egyptian government coming out and saying, this isn't what we showed you. This has nothing to do, this has nothing to do with anything. This isn't what's on the walls. This is rubbish. Why don't we ever get that outcry? Again, this is what we typically get. This lady with a mushroom-shaped hairstyle. In actual fact, this is what you have. And I'll show you that this hairstyle is still in fashion today. There are still people who look like this individual in Africa today who are still donning these hairstyles. That's a poor picture there. You can see the stratified layers. You can see that this is not a wig. You can see when you look at modern descendants of actual Egyptians, you can see the hair. You can see the hair that the Egyptians are trying to depict. They just haven't gone for the uber realistic style. You can see that. It's right there. You actually have people who still wear the same hair. Nothing's changed. You will find these people in Egypt, typically in the southern regions, the Afar people, the Beja people. You know, dancing on the border between Egypt and Sudan, where the Bible predicts that they will end up. Go and read Ezekiel 29:14, and I will return you back to Pathros, back to Upper Egypt, and there you will remain a small nation and you will never be great again. God's curse on the Egyptian people. Again, I'm a Christian. I actually believe that that curse is playing out. I believe that that curse has played out and is playing out. I believe that the Egyptians got too proud and suffering the effects of a curse. Again, you can disagree with me on that. It's not to say that God hates black folks or God hates the Egyptian people. I believe this is something that's playing out because nobody's perfect. Nobody's actually perfect. There's no race or no group of people who are purer than pure. And I believe, as great as the Egyptian people were, as great as the Kemetians were, there were some atrocities committed in their name, in the name of their great civilization. And for that reason, well, we've got what we've got today. Right, let me show you this. Look at the hair. Look at the hair. Look at the hair we're talking about. Look at the hair we're talking about. Look at the hair we're talking about. You can see, the experts know this. If you go to Egypt and you look in the tombs and you see the paintings, and you come out of the complex and you're going around normal Egypt, maybe you're in Aswan, you will see people that look like this. And yet, we're still debating that these were a black people. We are still having to debate with these people that these were a black people. It's incredible. It's actually incredible. Okay, right. Let's move on. I don't want to get bogged down in that. Okay, okie dokie. Now let's move on to Lion and Turnbull. They got some amazing pieces. All right. Let's go to bust of an official. So we're back out of West Africa again. We're back to West Africa and Central Africa. We're now back to East Africa, Northeast Africa. We're back to Egypt, ancient Egypt. Right. So we got ancient Egyptian portrait bust of an official. And you look at this individual, you cannot deny their Africoid features. I'll show you a better image of that. This has been sold for £5,750. That is of a bust of an official from the Middle Kingdom, 2,000 years BC. 2,000 years. This is how old African history is. This is how old. I said this yesterday, and I didn't even realize what I was saying at the time myself. When I said it, I did not realize the significance of what I was saying when I said it. It was like, man, you just dropped some knowledge, because it was like when I finished the when I finished the live, I was like, shoot, that is so true. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that Egypt saw the rise and fall and the rise and the fall and the rise and fall of several civilizations. And the mainstay for a lot of people. So you have people who could have time traveled 2,000 years in the future from their time. And the only constant, the only thing that would still have been the same is that Egypt is a big player in the world. Egyptians are a big player. What can that be said of, I don't know, can that be said of the Spanish Empire, the Portuguese Empire, the British Empire, these great kingdoms? It can't be said. It can only be said of a black African civilization, the Egyptians. And all good things come to an end, guys. All good things come to an end. And Egypt had to come to an end. It came to an end eventually. But, I mean, I dropped that knowledge yesterday and I felt like, oh my goodness, that I dropped some bars. I dropped some real bars. I mean, ancient Egypt was amazing. Right. Let me just move on to the next slide here. So I just got these images. I downloaded this so that you could see more precisely the facial features on this individual. Now, in the description, you're told something that's quite annoying. It's annoying to me because, well, I'll explain to you why it's annoying to me in a minute when I go back to the description. Description says, carved bastard. This is good. Right. So, this is proof that these people don't know what they're talking about. They do not know what they're talking about.
Do me a favor. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Sorry, guys. I'll just shut that down. Okay.
Do me a favor. Get out of here.
I don't need that. That's not what I want. Okay. I'll leave that to one side for now. Okay. Okay. Let me just go back here. This is proof that they do not know what they're talking about, and
do me a favor. Get out of here. Get out of here, man.
You could do so. You do.
So, please.
All right, let me just move out of that. I'm going to show you proof that these people do not know what they're talking about. Let's go. So once again, carved basalt, the oval face with rounded cheeks, tapering to a dimpled chin, the almond-shaped eyes parted by a prominent nose and full lips. The philtrum indicated, the ears exposed in front of the wig, presented on a bespoke mount. Right? Cool. You have this thing again. A wig. This isn't a wig. Let's get closer. This is some kind of headpiece. This is a kind of there's no suggestion here on this beautiful individual's head and face. There's no suggestion of a wig here. This looks like a head covering of some sort. But for some reason, they're so obsessed with this idea of a wig. These liars. They're so obsessed with this idea of a wig that they're going for a wig. This is a wig. This is a wig. Yet again. And I'll prove to you that this isn't a wig. What you typically have is a head covering. I can't think of the name right now. This is Pharaoh Josa. And what he's got there is a head covering. And right underneath, protruding from underneath his head covering, you can still see the brown paint wearing off there. Still in the process of wearing off. You can't deny that's an African face you're looking at. And underneath the head covering that you've got, you can see his locks. You can see his locks. He's effectively with his crown. The crown acts as a beanie. That's a beanie you're looking at. Look again closely. You can see his locks. You can see the beanie. You can see the crown, which is a fabric cloth. You can see it resting on his locks underneath. You can see his African features. You don't get blacker than this. You don't get blacker than this. It's painful. It's actually painful. So much that you have to laugh at the level of denial of what you're seeing. This is hair underneath head covering. And that is exactly the same thing that you see with this broken off bust. Otherwise, the Egyptians are very capable of defining hair texture. That's not, that doesn't scream hair texture. That's just another crown or of some sort of or head covering. Right, let's move on. I just thought that was important to point out. Right. Let's go. Let's keep going. Excuse me. There's nothing European about this individual. This is going for. Let me just go back and look at details about this. So I go closer there. You will see. You'll see what it tells us about this. £15,000. Private collection. 30th dynasty. Ancient Egyptian Shabti. Again, a Shabti was little figurine that accompanied the coffin or the sarcophagus of a rich, high-powered person, a pharaoh, whatever you want to call the individual. And they were meant to serve as representations of the servants of the person in the afterlife, so that the person would have someone to help him out in the afterlife. This person, this rich and powerful person, would continue to be rich and powerful in the afterlife. Shabti for Horuja, priest of the goddess Neith, depicted in typical fashion, holding the whole pick and seed sack over his left shoulder. It's gone for 15,000. Right. Just make sure that I'm being heard. Cool. Right. Let's go back to the screen here. And go back there. Okay. And I'm gonna go out of this. Just so you can just so you can see what we're talking about when we talk about the blackness of the Egyptians. This isn't in a private collection. You can see this in a museum somewhere. I just don't know. I've not been able to track which museum you can see this at. This is Amenemhat the third. Look at his hair. Now if that's a wig, that's an elaborate wig, but it's not a wig because you can see the continuation in his beard structure. You can see the braids. You can see how intricately it's been designed and dressed. There he is there. If the hair doesn't prove it, you can look at his facial features. Look at his facial features. I can't zoom in any closer than that. Look at his facial features. He has some swag, yeah. RJ says he has some swag. He does have some swag. I think it's the most. I love this statue. Actually, it's beautiful to look at. Absolutely beautiful to look at. And he's got some of the most impressive busts in the portfolio of the ancient Egyptians. Beautiful to look at. Again, they will tell you that this is all a wig. I think Science and Inspiration says a beard wig. Yeah, beard wig is right. That's exact. But that we can say that and obviously laugh at that. But people actually go around, supposed people, experts with PhDs to their names, go around saying this. Okay. So the stupidity of man. No, not the stupidity. I think it's willful stupidity. I think it's willful. So it's not really stupidity. Willful blindness. Okay, so let's go from Lion and Turnbull. We've seen some of the stuff there, and I want to show you. Now what I'm about to show you is a German collection. I can't track down where this. I didn't really have time to track down the what's the word? The repose. I didn't have enough time to track down where this actual collection is currently. But what I did find for you is, close this. Is an old book that had the collection of someone called Kofler Truniger. And if you look him up, E.M. Kofler Truniger, his collection, he was a big antiques collector, a big arts dealer. He was a merchant, a trader, so he was a quite well-off individual, German individual, and he just decided to collect up a lot of these pieces. Ancient Egyptian, African, he's got them all, but particularly ancient stuff, things from antiquity. And this is an old book that documents some of his collection that you're about to see. And I've taken screenshots from this book. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's go close. This is now the translation. The translation here is. I'm not even going to try and read German. But I did find out that I did get the translation on this, and the translation is Egyptian works of art, small finds and glass in the E&M Kofler Truniger at Lucerne. Okay, so this is his private collection that I think you can see publicly. You can see some of. You can see some of it publicly exhibited today. There's no doubt that the person you're seeing there, almost in 3D with full high cheekbones and a full face right there, is a black woman. The depression of the nose, the prominence of the lips, that's a black woman. And it's funny because when Europeans try to recreate, when they try to do replicas of these people, they weren't so deluded as to when they made replicas, not fakes now, they just replicas. They went so deluded during the age of Egyptomania. They went so deluded as to copy feature for feature, right? So when they made a white face, supposedly with when they made a white face, look at this piece right here. This is an 1860s Wedgwood. Joseph Wedgwood is a major name in terms of antiques here and pottery makers, and I think it's world known. It's got world renown. Josiah Wedgwood, that would be. Now, look at this. When they did replicas, they didn't dare try to copy feature for feature. This is a white man. You can tell this is a white man. The head shape, the lack of an elongated back skull, dolichocephaly, I think it's called. The nose structure, the lips, the mouth formation, the chin. The chins are typically of Europeans protrude outwards much more than a Negroid chin would do. The nose always leads with white folks, and the chin somewhat. Okay, that's the variation in the human race, right? Ours, we got the lack of a nose ridge in most cases and wider nostrils. Okay, right, and a prominent sort of cheek formation, and the lips, prominent lips. So when you go to authentic Egyptian artifacts, you know you're looking at a black person. Because even when they tried to then copy, they didn't delude themselves and then transpose the features they were seeing in authentic Egyptian art onto like a white version. They didn't do that because it's stupid. Right. This blew my mind. Look at this guy. Look at this man. Look at this young man's face on the right hand side. Look at his face and tell me that is not an Egyptian, a black Egyptian man. That's not an African man you're looking at. It's ridiculous. So when all right, let's go to it. Right, let's go to when Europeans write in the 1800s that the ancient Egyptians, from the evidence of their sculptures and whatnot, when they say things like, from the evidence of their sculptures, they seem to be a Negro race, you know what they're talking about when you see things like this. This is an African man, right? This is in a private collection of someone, and it's been passed down generation to generation in the same family. This Schrödinger guy, you keep going, right? This is a black woman. There's no denying it. I mean, do I have to say anything else? She's got, that's the back, and that's the back side of figure A151 there. I don't know, it looks like she's got a headpiece somewhat. She's naked. It's not too graphic there. We can't see. It's not very detailed. The details wore off, thankfully. But this is a black woman. I don't even have to say anything about her form. You know, I'll just leave that. I'm not going to touch that. But listen, RJ Mackenzie, don't get me in trouble. Do not get me in trouble. Thank you very much. This, you know what you're looking at when you're looking at this, right? Everyone knows what they're looking at. Now, I wanted to make a point about this. this form for centuries was denigrated. There's a lot about black people that in the Western context was denigrated, is denigrated. Thick lips has been caricatured in the, in the gollywog sort of dolls. Wide nostrils, even the black skin, the black color of our skin. Even the female shape, the black female shape has been ridiculed and put on display for show and denigration. Not yesterday, but for a long time. Let me show you. I don't know if you guys know of Sarah Bartman, the South African, I think she was Khoisan, who was taken from South Africa, captured from South Africa, and exhibited for her physique in Europe. So we have our facial features, our bodily form being fetishized, okay, by Europeans for hundreds of years, being laughed at, being compared to apes and monkeys and gorillas. I'll show you Sarah Bartman. This woman, I think, what's her name? Please help me out. There's an African-American woman who portrayed her in a movie, in a biopic. Something Stone. These are renditions, paintings, drawings of Sarah Bartman in the late 1700s. She was brought over and she was displayed for Europeans to look at. She was called the something Venus, Hottentot Venus. And there were jokes made about her, comic strips done of her. She was literally exhibited like an animal throughout Europe for her shape, for her form. And I only bring this up to make the point that that's her. That's a very realistic depiction of her. And yeah. Too right, RJ McKenzie. Too right. So before it was cool, before all the Kardashians were getting lip fillers and butt injections, we were just made fun of. Our features were supposedly a sign that we are lesser than. Okay? Now, why that's really, really poignant is that till today, it still goes on. Till today, our features are still sort of ridiculed, made fun of. Not as much as they used to be, obviously, no. We've got a kind of copycat trend going on right now where the white world wants to copy African features, but not really admit that. We're not really supposed to admit that we're copying your style, we're copying your God-given look here. But we'll just do it anyway. Now, look her up. Her story is really sad. Sarah Bartman, also spelled Sarah, sometimes was a Khoi woman, exhibited as a freak show attraction in 19th century Europe. So I got that wrong. That's 19th century Europe. That's the 1800s. Under the name Hottentot Venus, a name which was later attributed to at least one other woman similarly exhibited. Okay? It says here that she spent her childhood and teenage years on Dutch European farms. She went through puberty rites, blah, 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 on display in Europe. Okay? Henrik Caesars and Alexander Dunlop brought Bartman to London in 1810. The group lived together in Duke Street, St. James, the most expensive part in London. In the household were Sarah Bartman, etc., and two African boys, possibly bought illegally by Dunlop from the slave lodge in Cape Town. Okay, you have just in your own time, look into it. The point I'm trying to make is this about Sarah Bartman, is that when we're talking about Egypt, you can look at people that look like this in ancient Egypt and tell me, add insult to injury, and tell black people that these are not Africans you're looking at. They're just Middle Eastern types you're looking at. The whole time you're doing that, you have to. You're going out of your way to ignore, to pretend as though the very features that you have spent hundreds and hundreds of years denigrating aren't there. So in order to say to me, this is not an African civilization, these aren't black people you're looking at, you're having to ignore and play down African features. In some cases, you talk about them glowingly. You say full lips, and the description gives these kind of, but at the same time, not acknowledging like that you're talking about a black person. So these descriptions will talk about the full lips, the broad nose sometimes, okay, because it's the elephant in the room. You can't not. But without talking about the fact that you're looking at an African man. So on the one hand, you spend centuries objectifying and denigrating our features and talking down about our flat noses and our thick lips and doing caricatures of us. But on the other hand, when you see these features, these same features on like on the faces of the pharaohs and their gods, it's not there. You pretend as though you can't see it. You just pretend like you're not looking at it. That, for me, that is some serious effed up. That is some. I mean, I talk to white folk and I tell them sometimes, like, I got British friends, and I tell them that I got this channel, goes into African history, and I tell them that, and they sometimes they say, oh wow, that's really cool. Until I say, yeah, we start in ancient Egypt and we look across the world at different civilizations. And then when you say that to them, they kind of look at you as if you got two heads. Like, oh, ancient Egypt? Oh, you're one of those guys. But it's like, with a lot of the people that do that, it's just ignorance. Sadly, it's just ignorance. But I'm willing to wager, as nice as they are, that the cognitive dissonance is so far ingrained that even when you show them this stuff, even when you show them these things, black faces on black statues, it's so ingrained in them to think, oh, you just woke, you don't know what you're talking about. The Egyptians were not black, they weren't this. It's so ingrained in them that they won't even believe you. They won't look at these sculptures and think, oh my goodness, what have we done? What actually have we done? We spent years, Judah Ben-Hur, Cleopatra, all these, the Ten Commandments, lying to folk about what the ancient Egyptians look like. And now it's time to pay the piper. You will not get that. You will not get them actually realize, oh my gosh, they'll still look at you as if, you're just a poor soul. You're just a bit misguided. The ancient Egyptians weren't blacks. You can show them this stuff. You can show them these statues. So it just hurts on a different level that on the one hand, you can have people who look like this on the African continent, and on another day, you'd be making fun. Well, on another day in a different time and a different place, rewind the time. Like I said, it's fashionable now to have, the African form on a woman. It's fashionable. We have a copycat industry that's based on copying black faces, lip fillers, butt fillers, But when you see them on Egyptian statues, you deny what you're looking at. You just tell yourself that's not what you're seeing. And you call in the experts. Oh, come and interpret for me. Come and tell me about the wigs. The wigs, yeah. Anyway, all right. That's just a little rant. I'm done with that right now. It's just, anyway, whatever, man. So I'm gonna skip through this. Some more. I think this is, well, whatever this is depicting, whatever pharaoh this is depicting, I think these might be Akhenaten. The subjects here might be Akhenaten's family. I'm not sure. This individual here looks very similar to Akhenaten. Um, and this lady here could be Nefertiti, the real Nefertiti, not the fake that they brandish around. Okay. This is again a very Nilotic looking ancient Egyptian. The nose is straight and quite streamlined there, but you can tell from the hair, you can tell from everything else that this is a black individual, and this is again private collection. Look at this individual. Look at this man. Look at this man. Just look at this man right here. Do I have to say anything else? Do I have to say anything else? I'll just leave that. No, do you know what? I'm just gonna leave the screen up like this. I'm just gonna keep quiet and just marvel at this image. This is not what you get in Cairo. You will not get this in Cairo. You will not get this. They're happy to leave this in the hands of Europeans. They're happy for the Europeans to trade this amongst themselves privately because they don't want you seeing this. They don't want you coming to Egypt and actually seeing these. And then right next door are people who actually look like this. They don't want that. Yeah, you know what, RJ Mackenzie, that's the thing. That is the truth of the matter. There is, RJ Mackenzie says in the chat, because there is some part inside where they still believe they're superior. Yeah, yeah. And that goes for lily white, sort of well-meaning individuals as well. It does. There is at the very least, a subconscious element that believes that this is what black people are capable of, and thus far no further. And that's what you were always capable of. There is, you know. So, and unless you've been on the other side of that, paradigm, you don't know what it's about. You can't feel the pain of that. There's nothing to write home about. There's nothing for you to get angry about. There's nothing for you to talk about. Do you know what I mean? So to a lot of people, it's just, oh, you should be doing something else for your time. This is, but it's not your history that's been lied about. It's not you that's been lied about. It's not your heritage that's been lied about and that's been used and turned against you. So I used to get angry about it, but I don't anymore because I understand. We're very selfish. Human beings are very selfish. We don't get it until we get it. We don't get it until we're actually in the shoes of the other person. Until you make us, until you rob us of something, or you deny us of something as well, as the other person, or you put us in the same situation. Same goes for me. You don't get it. You can't begin. So a lot of people who tell, a lot of plenty white friends of mine don't understand the significance of this work that a lot of black people in this age of awakening have decided to take on themselves to do. They don't understand what the big deal is. They think, oh, you should just, let bygones be bygones. Even if some of what you're talking about is true, just no. This has to be spoken about. This has to be explored and properly, rooted out. Anyway, so I'll leave that. Again, look at this individual. You will not see this. You will not see this publicly exhibited. Look at this. I wonder where this is today. I really wonder where this is today. There's another African-looking woman there. And here is a fact file from Wikipedia on Ernst Koffler Triniger. Ernst Koffler Triniger completed Born 1903, so I'll start at the beginning. Born 1903, was a Swiss merchant, art collector, and art dealer. Ernst Koffler Triniger completed the business school in Lucerne and a commercial apprenticeship. He worked in the fashion industry and was held the fashion house Koffler. The sentence doesn't make any sense. He worked in the fashion industry and was held whatever. Okay. Founded in 1852 in Lucerne. With his wife Martha, he brought together an extensive art collection. In 1968, he sold the family business and began to sell art. In 1970, Edmund de Unger acquired the medieval enamel works of the collection in his... This guy had... I briefly looked into him. He had an almighty collection. How did he get this stuff? How did he get his hands on this? Guys, Africa has been looted from top to bottom. Africa has been looted, and we do not even know the half of it. Okay. Right. Okay, there's the sad story again. There's Sarah Bartman. Now, I don't really care if YouTube's AI says I've been displaying bad images. So I think we all know that there's worse stuff out there, and I'll challenge that if the video's hit with a demonetization. So I got witnesses. I am not a pervert. Right. Okay. Right. That's that done. Right. Let's move on to what should I go on to? I'm sport for choice here. I'm sport for choice. I've got a bee in my bonnet about the hair thing. So I don't want to waste it because I spent time just compiling this, and I want to show you what I mean about the hair of the Egyptians. Okay, so close this down and open this. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're enjoying this so far. Give me a 1 in the chat if you're enjoying this so far, and because I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up. I'm glad I did this. Right. So these are the ancient Egyptians, and this is just have a look at the hairstyles that you see on them. I will go next. Again, if you take a closer look, and you see the detail. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I'm getting responses coming through. Come on. If you can even open us, I know a lot of you out there, you got multiple accounts because it's war out there. We are fighting the trolls. And I've I've got multiple accounts to fight the trolls with. So if you can open up your multiple accounts as well on other browsers and give this video a like, I really want the algorithm to push this. Okay, if I don't really care for my voice, but I do want people to see these images. Right? You've got, again, you look closer there. So thank you guys. You can hit the like button as well. That'd be great. Thank you, Sam Femsey. Thank you, Darth Skywalker. Thank you, RJ McKenzie. Come on, guys. I need those ones popping up. Thank you, in advance. So we've got these hairstyles right here. Again, you look closely. You look at the brown skin. You look at the neck pieces that you still get as far down south as the Zulu Nation in Africa. You look at the pronounced lips. You look at the indented nose ridge. These are African people. We're not talking about wigs with bangs here. Okay, we're talking about proper African hair. Okay. If you've not seen this before, I'm about to blow your mind. Okay, here you go. I don't know what tomb walls you get in these on, but just look at the variation. Look at this guy's hair. It's knotted and on the ends, but it's kind of taking a fro shape. And you got this guy's to the right is slightly more downy in texture. Again, right there, you can see the hair for what it is. It's African hair. See the African hair on this guy. Just look at the face. Just look at the face. My goodness. Now, that is not black. That's not black paint. They've not used black paint here, because you'll get this false argument that whenever they drew Nubians or black people, whenever they created black representations, it was jet black. That's a lie. You've got brown paint that's used here for this individual that can only be described as super negroid. check my video out on that. Super negroid. Sheikh Anta Diop. He knew he was right. I think I titled it. That's what one European archaeologist termed the ancient Egyptian mummies that she was studying. She called them super negroid. Look at this guy. There's no other word that you can use that you can better use to describe what you're looking at. Super negroid. Okay. I got another one. I'll just keep going through because I want to now show you. Look at this. Look at this. Look at his hair. Look at his skin. Look at his skin. These are the images that they will not show you. These are the images that are in that you will have to go to the back to see. They'll first show you the Greeks who were copying Egyptian the Egyptian style and fashion. They'll show you that before they show you these images. Okay, so when you go to these exhibitions, that's what you get. Look look what we have in modern times. Tell me that you got Arabs, newcomers in northern. Tell me that you got them dressing like this. Tell me that you got them looking like this, having their hair, wearing their hair in this style. Look at them. Just look at them. Till today. Look at this individual on the right. Till today, this is how the Beja people and the Afar people, this is how they dress. It's incredible. It's incredible that this is a debate. Looks like it's just popped off of a wall. Right there. Right there. It's all there. Tightly packed hair. When black hair is tended to and is left alone, just you do the minimal dressing of it and the minimal maintenance of it. These are afros you're looking at. You know? Look at this. This image you get in the Louvre Museum, and I think it's Amenhotep III at the Louvre Museum in France. People actually tell you that this image doesn't exist. And it was Kweli Mika who did created some content on YouTube and put me onto the fact that you can actually get the original. This is an original picture of because what you get is a mock-up of this on the internet typically. Look at this guy. Look at this guy and his wife. Anyway, let's come out of that. I'm going to go through one more exhibition. And it's going to be, where should we go? I'm gonna do a vote. I'm gonna ask you guys to vote. Should we stay in the UK or should we stay in Europe, or should we go to America? Because we've got the Americans who have some stuff with them that I don't know. Do we want to see an American an American private exhibition, or do we want to stay in Europe? I can't stay on much longer because it is 12:30 in the morning here. I've got stuff to do in the morning. America or Europe? Let us see if we can go to. Let's see if my browser will hold up. I'll show you this. This is from Freeman and Freeman's Hindman. I think these are American. Okay, Arjun McKenzie wants us to go to Europe. Wants us to stay in Europe, and Science and Inspiration wants us to go to America. Sam Femsey wants us to go to America. That's 2 for America. Well, part 3, he says, for America. Part 3 for America. Okay. If the people want it, we might do a part 3. We might do a part 3. Okay. Let's just go to America. Let's go to America. Okay? Let's go to America now, because I'm not sure. There's other things I want to get onto in terms of lives, and I could do this. You could do this for ages because they have got so many of our things. This is a Roman Egyptian figure. Now we are told that even amongst the community, we believe that by the time the Romans are there, that black Egyptians are gone. That's not true. That is not true at all. I did a video a few months back about what the Romans and the Greeks saw during their time in Egypt. The sculptures they were doing of the Africans that they saw in Egypt. Look at this guy. Once again, you've got the same hair. This is a Roman sculpture of an Egyptian man. Roman era. Roman rule over Egypt. You have this individual here with his, again, the same hair structure that you see across Egypt. And you see the slightly snub nose there. And again, it's just the same thing that you see the Egyptians presenting themselves as. Egyptian sandstone relief, fragments, modern. I wonder if we can get any information about this. Can't really get any information about this. Oops. Let's get that off. She will not be happy about that because she will not like the idea of herself. I really need to change that. I need to change that desktop. She's gonna kill me. She's gonna kill me. I don't want to be on the screen. Okay, right. So we have this black individual here. Again, I don't know how you can look at this, even without the coloration, with the coloration gone. I don't know how you can look at this and not think to yourself, oh, a black man, an African man. Certainly looks nothing like this. Fine piece of art from the 1800s, though this may be. This, an Egyptian man, a black Egyptian man, does not a copycat Victorian piece make. There we go. That's what we're looking at. And again, we look at this piece right here. And again, prominence of the lips. That's being sold for $300 in America. Right, I did say let's go to America. I believe Walters Art Museum is an American institution, and they are selling their things as well. I want to show you just one piece from them. Just one piece from them. And if it will load on time. Come on. So the Walters Art Museum is a completely private institution. It is not a public museum. It's one of these that, again, sells its pieces to other privately endowed museums. Look at the afro in this family. Look at the afro in this family. Again, not a wig. Look at that. You can't get blacker than that. I was amazed when I saw this. You cannot get blacker than that. So when you have people say they weren't African American, that's a lie you have to watch out for. That's a new tactic. I'm going to end on this note, and I'm going to consider a part 3 of this. I'm gonna consider part 3. I tell you what, if this video does 100 likes, I'll be humble. If it does 100 likes in a week, then I will do part 3 of this. So please, 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 if you can, pull all the strings you can, share and like yourselves, but definitely share this so that others can enjoy it and like it as well. But if it does 100 likes in a week, I will do a part 3 because there's still a lot I've left under the table. Now, there's still a lot I've left on the table, not under the table. You get this lie. I think they're coping better. Not coping better. No, what they're doing now is you will get in the forums, you will get this argument that, well, even if they were black, they weren't African American black. That's like saying, even if that's like all of a sudden jumping up and saying, even if the Greeks were white, even if the Romans were white, they're not English white. What? They're not Irish white, so you can't claim them. Okay, then Britain can give back all the Roman inspired buildings and culture that it's just go back to, I don't know, Celtic druidic crosses and just go back to rune writings. Give back all the culture, give back all the history, give back, and let's just separate everybody like that and say, well, they're not. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing now. They're coming up to the point of, oh shoot, okay, we can't deny it anymore. It's looking like everyone's got an internet connection. Most people can read. And people are seeing this for themselves. So, well, irony of ironies is actually, when you look at a lot of these statues, some of these guys, some of you in America would not look out of place. None of you would look out of place in ancient Egypt. It turns out, on the evidence of these statues, on the evidence of what we've seen, a lot of what we've seen tonight. So it's a lie. Even that's a lie. Even that's a lie. That you go to East Africa today and I wouldn't stand out. I wouldn't stand out at all. So it's this. And do you know what? The same types that are doing this are the same types that came up with divide and conquer. And a lot of us, I'm going to call her out. My channel isn't about, it's not about beef, but I'm going to call this channel out. And I unsubscribed. I had to unsubscribe because I think that's her only thing that she does. And it's a channel called, Lady Boulay. I don't know if you guys know the channel Lady Boulay. And a lot of her stuff is helping the opposition. A lot of her stuff is, oh, what did African migrants in America, what are they saying about African Americans? And what do African Americans, it's like this kind of helping the opposition pit ourselves against each other. If you're falling for that again in 2024, if we're still falling for this same okie doke of looking at each other and saying, well, you're a different, like, if you haven't learned the lesson of history that we actually, as a diaspora, a people, have to stick together, then you're another level of stupid. You are another level of stupid. Okay? Because I don't know why you would do that. I do not know why channels like hers focuses on saying on the worst source of division. We don't need to be doing that right now. We don't need to be falling for their lies of, oh, well, this is they're different kinds of African. No. Europe as a body rose up because they said, as a civilization, they said, do you know what? We need to stop warring amongst each other. We need to combine our forces, at least when it comes to facing India, Africa, Japan, China, all these places. And they literally went across the world with that unity. White was white. It didn't matter whether you were Southern Mediterranean white or Northern. You were part of the great Caucasian race. These people went out of their way to draw diagrams and paintings of people and say, see that? See that? It goes in gradations. You had fully grown adult men drawing pictures and saying, this human, look, this human is different to that human. Stupid, ridiculous things like that. And in 2024, some of us are still falling for the same lie. We're still falling for the same divide and conquer. We're still letting them tell us now that whilst they're united, at least when it comes against, when it comes to the rest of the world, they're united. They put up a united front, you know. So, but we want to be playing their game. Why? Why would you do that? We can't fall for it. We just cannot fall for it. If the black diaspora, if what I call it, if the sons of Ham, because that's what we are, we're the sons of Ham, the sons and daughters of Ham. If the sons and daughters of Ham are to ever like attain a level of dignity that they had once upon a time, the same level of man, I'm talking about this world, this globe was a black world. Was a black dominated globe. It's hard to imagine now, but it once was. So if we're ever to achieve that, attain that again, we cannot afford this to fall into this lie that they want us to fall into. And when I say they, I don't mean your average white man in the street. I mean some of the best human beings I've known in my life. The best, I would say, the best human being I know in my life is a white person. That's my wife. That's my wife. I'm not talking. She knows I'm not talking about her. I know my white friends know I'm not talking about them. Some of the most decent people in this world are, and some of the truths that we know about, some of the stuff that's been whistleblown, has come from white people. I'm thinking of getting a few on my channel in the near future. A few of these academics. Fingers crossed. I hope they deign to come to a little channel like mine and chop it up and talk to me and be interviewed. But I'm hoping to get black and white academics in the future on this channel and just pick their minds a bit, go over some stuff with them. And a lot of the help that's come in terms of blowing up, whistleblowing the truth and telling the world about, look, this is our civilization. A lot of that has come from white folk. Let's not get it twisted. So I said that before in another live, and I'll keep banging that drum because I think sometimes we get carried away with ourselves and we do the very thing that we accuse other people of doing. Okay? So we just don't need to do that, and we don't need to be divided within ourselves. And don't fall for the okie doke. Right, guys, I'm preaching now. I don't want to preach. I don't want to do that. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to end this stream now, and I'm going to say thank you so much. Please share this video once it's up properly, and yeah, I'm really happy for everyone that's been involved. Thank you, RJ McKenzie. Thank you, Darth Skywalker. Thank you, Sam Fenzi. Thank you, Science and Inspiration. Thank you, Patrina Oldfield. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you, Jed Kane. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, I think it was Chinyere, Chinkere, or so. It was an Igbo name at the start of this, at the start of the live that got involved. Thank you all for being part of this, and I'm honored that you would just stay with me for about 2 hours now, and just listen to me speak. So right, guys, I'm out. Look out for a video coming out this week, and possibly another live, possibly a part 3 of this on the weekend, next weekend. So yeah, thank you all again, and I'm out. Okay, that's Kushta Compton, Trill Black. Blessings.